faces. I think it's by no coincidence that you have the lineup that you have. I was talking to Ty Freedom Ford and Avery R. Young about the fact that this morning on Facebook I saw a picture of me and Avery. Coincidence, Ty's the one who took the picture. This is 5 years ago today. Wow. So we're all here in the space together. So I also think it's interesting that Ty was gracious enough to invite me to do this reading, especially given the title of her book, How to Get Over, because my master's thesis was titled How They Got Over, and it was regarding the aesthetics of 3 Chicago black women poets, Gwendolyn Brooks, Carolyn Rogers, and Angela Jackson.
Ashe.
Yes. So to actually tie it all together, I want to read a very small excerpt from this book, The Whiskey of Our Discontent. It just came out. This book is in the bookstore, so if you decide to purchase this book and you want me to sign my essay part, I'll do that. But let me read this part to connect this with the poems that I'll read. And yeah, some parts might be a little confusing, but follow along with me. By the late 1960s, even Carolyn Rogers had begun to modify her thinking. And let me actually backtrack. Let me backtrack 1 second. So I talked about the title of my master's thesis, but I was playing off of the title of one of Carolyn Rogers' books, How I Got Over. And that book just inspired me tremendously because I related to it as a Chicago poet and as someone who just understands trying to communicate with the people. And she talks about her mother being a bridge that she crossed over, but she's still fighting some of the similar social battles. So, and she's a very raw poet, so here we go. By the late 1960s, even Carolyn Rogers had begun to modify her thinking, similar to what Jackson expresses in Poem Maker. Rogers shifted from a collective black perspective to an individual one. How I Got Over describes her rejection of the revolutionary she once was. In its place is an embrace of churchliness and spirituality. In the poem Breakthrough, she addresses her own poetic evolution. And this is an excerpt from that poem. I've had tangled feelings lately about everything. About writing poetry and other forms. About talking and dreaming with a special man who says he needs me, And my mouth has been open most of the time, but I ain't been saying nothing, but thinking about everything. And the partial pain has been, how do I put myself on paper the way I want to be or am and be not like anyone else in this black world but me? In this poem, Rogers embraces her individual self. She is vulnerable, not just the enraged revolutionary fighting on behalf of the black population. She acknowledges the desire to have space for her own needs. In this regard, her folk are those who do not try to encapsulate her. Her folk are thinkers, dreamers, and people who are not looking for the precision of language, but the uneven space through which human beings break through to form an epiphany. Rogers specifies that her vision of the world is still black, but she is still her own person. Her use of vernacular such as everything, talking, and dreaming alludes to a readership that considers the holistic nature of human experiences and not just their tailored presentations. Rogers once again utilizes what I call porch vernacular, conversational, open, vulnerable, with an expectation of understanding. Similar to Angela Jackson, she is connecting to those who relate to matters of the heart. And so that's only part of that I'm going to read, but definitely get this book is here. And yes, related to matters of the heart. And that's the type of poet that I seek to be. And I want us to think about the poetry that you hear tonight and who the author's folk are, right? Some poems may or may not connect with you, but the question is, who is our expected readership, right? Who are our folks? So I'm going to go to a poem in another book that you can find my writing in. Saul Williams, he's the main editor of this anthology. And you don't see the poets' names on it. It's called Chorus. He wanted all of our voices to come together. And I think I wrote this poem maybe about 7 years ago. It's called Bloody Lilith. You guys know about Lilith? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So just a little backstory. They say Lilith was the first wife of Adam, but we don't really hear about Lilith often. She refused to be at the bottom when having intercourse with Adam, so she was shunned. But that, they say that's myth, right? And so I was imagining Lilith as like a Bloody Mary type figure, right? Where they say don't say the name too many times, like a scary figure. So here we go. From the perspective of Lilith. I'll kill your baby, then I'll come for you. Witches awake, jaw droop, weltering from my machete-clipped wings, submerged in vinegar sweat, clenching Christ crosses, they moon chant. Night owl, night hag, you can't scare me. Night owl, night hag, you're the enemy. I'm their martyr. Peroxided in scripture, now the heresy, who rejected Adam's body atop. He cleaved onto Eve, who still left him foolish. I leave men wet with dreams of women with bird-taloned feet, taking flight, greeting angels at the sea. Docile Marys fed herself to rock dirt gardens, preferring the sting of stones, inscribing maid on their backs. Their daughters invent bloody Lilith with lights out, terrified my likeness will burst through their mirrors. Who second-sexed these servants? Dared they lie beneath men and raise boys? Who exiled me from their tongues? I cut throats and uteruses. If I, who denied beneathness, am now beneath, why not slice open their bellies and score their wings? Of course. The first readings in which I'm going through so many different books that my writing is in, but I'm like, thank you. I'm trying, and so okay. So Silver Bullet, that's my most recent chapbook, and Silver Bullet is a collection of poems regarding early 20th century race films. A publisher saw one of my poems online and said, "Hey, do you think that you can watch a bunch of early 20th century films and see what you come up with?" I'm like, cool. So I really wanted to see have race relations changed much, and of course the answer is no. We've seen some developments, but it's mind-boggling to look at early 20th century films and see that we're still dealing with similar issues. So I'm going to start off reading the poem that started this entire collection, and it's called How to Make Pancakes. And it's after The Imitation of Life, the 1934, there we go. There we go. And so for those of you who haven't watched it, there's actually two versions. But what sparked this poem is the fact that in the movie, you have this woman, this black woman. She has a biracial daughter. The daughter is ashamed of her mother because her mother has more of a servant position. She works for this white woman. And the black mother, she has this pancake idea, right? She has this great recipe. She basically gives it over to the white woman, and she's only getting 20% off of her own idea. And so it bothered me because we see a lot of that today, right? You have the idea, and you're only getting a cut of your own efforts. So here we go. How to make pancakes. This is how you make pancakes. Buy some butter, even if the butter is bitter. Sift together flour, baking powder, and sugar. Pour milk and butter into the batter to make the batter better. Grab the whisk. Beat eggs eagerly. Pour canola oil into the skillet. Mix until smooth, fool. Fancy how many perfectly round pancakes you can flip. Serve brown, hot, and exhausted. Whisper the secret of your recipe, promise for your grave when a pretty white lady asks you for it. Pretend she thinks your pancakes are as sweet as you. This is how your daughter discovers she cannot lick the batter. Shoot your eyes to the clouds, wear a cheeky smile, make the smallness of your wit humorous. Accept 20% interest on your own pancake business. Buy some butter, even if the butter is bitter. Put it in the batter to make the batter better, better than her bitter butter, but your batter is not bitter. Be not bitter. This is how it feels to be eaten out of a box in front of your child. Give the silver ladle to families who consume you. Bury the pickaninny headscarf, your death wish chariot, pearls and pressed curls. Give them the same bucktooth smile. Paint it red. Let's live. Now, okay, I was going to read a few from this one, but I'm going to read one more poem from this and then two other poems. So this next poem I'm going to read is called "What If Dolly is Bessie and Bessie is Dolly is I?" And I had fun with that title, clearly. But this poem came about because I was watching Emperor Jones. You guys saw that film? Emperor Jones, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us have read Native Son, but I was watching the film Native Son. Oh gosh. And yes, and so it was mind-boggling because Emperor Jones came out in 1933. The Native Son film, 1951, although the book was out earlier. But here's the thing. When I was watching both films, I realized that the black woman character never changed. Dolly, right, that was, Emperor Jones's girlfriend. She's the same as Bessie, essentially. Both black women who supported the black man but were essentially dismissed. Emperor Jones went with these lighter women. You never even hear about this woman, Bessie, who was pretty much kissing him at the train stop as he went off to fulfill his mission. Bessie, she got killed in the elevator shaft. But she was supportive the whole time. So here we go. What if Dolly is Bessie and Bessie is Dolly is I? Dolly hugged Emperor Jones like Bessie hugged Bigger Thomas, like I hugged the black man whose back faced me before boarding a plane to D.C. He did not take the industrial train northbound like Emperor Jones before he was king, or Bigger Thomas who cruised in cars with white communists. But I was Bessie and Dolly was Bessie, and I was licking chocolate frosting from a butcher knife, unthinking the frizz of my afro that perhaps leaves him a perpetual lever. Did I hug him as Dolly hugged Emperor Jones, as if I was his toilet bowl cleaner? Did I unsee his eyes thwarted toward the railroad tracks or airplane, a promise of silk, slick-haired women in red lipstick and ground cardamom face powder? Was I Bessie singing deep brown butter slave blues while Bigger lollygagged with white women whom he dreamt of suffocating something sweeter than my body he could easily shove into an elevator shaft? Was I his mud of root, earth girl smooch? Revision. I am at the airport, near the railroad tracks, near the car, same damn thing, unremembering him. Not burying my nails into the tracks, not kissing the steel, expecting his shrinkage. Wealth is synthesized from a plant. If I am at the bottom, nothing green grows without me. That's that. It's like you listen to your poetry, it's like, wow, I got some darkness going on. Probably wouldn't be that, I wouldn't go that far. But, okay, so I'm just going to read these two poems. And also, Silver Bullet is $10. There's, of course it's my book, but I think it's a worthwhile book, too, because if you want to study early 20th century films, early 20th century race films, this could be good to go along with that. And so, yeah, I'm going to do these two. Now, it's funny because I work with kids, and so this poem is from the perspective of a child. And it's called From the DCFS Counselor's Office While Chewing Bubblicious Bubblegum. Third grade girls say I pretty ugly. Learned lies ugly before I ever believed them. Mama beat me bloody till I broke. Banjo, still cry to Whitney Houston. I want you to see light skin, think I mixed, believe I pretty. Doctor asks if I see that thing. I tell boy in class I want to see his thing. My cousin's daddy say my daddy a nasty thing. I hear you talk too much. Teacher gave me a star for keeping my mouth shut. Now, it's so funny. Now, these poems, I took a break from writing and editing my own work. But these two poems that I'm reading, they're going to be in my collection. And right now the title is In Search of Blackbirds. And it's so funny because I believe it was Carolyn Rogers' first book, Songs from a Blackbird. Yeah, and so, but I had that title before I even came across this. I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening? happening, right? So that it kind of spawned this whole research around her work. And so this is the last poem that I'll read. And so I grew up by Rockwell Projects on the west side, and you know them, yes. But you know the project, they done tore them all down at this point. So,
Rockwell, like, you don't even know.
Yeah. It's, you know, I live in Hyde Park now. People think it's sweet. You know, but I'm like, I know how I grew up. I know what I saw. And that kind of creates the person that's trying to really work with folks from similar communities. But so this poem came about because I was thinking, now could I go back to Rockwell? Could I go back to Rockwell and basically raise children there who read all of these books, and you know, can I raise them to be exceptional in this space, and what will that look like? Now, of course, it has happened, but what conflicts might come about? So, here we go. In this house, I am Danny Tanner. Let me backtrack. Full house, right? So, let me give you another little reference here. When I was young, growing up by Rockwell Projects, I was watching Full House all the time. And I'm like, man, they hug each other a lot. You know, they don't curse. I was confused. There's no serious violence. You know, they can slam the door. They don't get cussed out. So, here we go. So, yeah, here we go. In this house, I am Danny Tanner. My 3 daughters, sister, and best friend sleep on the 2nd floor. We hug and sometimes just walk away when we can't find the right frustrated words to say, I love you. This is not an actual house. I am the mother. There are 12 floors in this building. When we can't find the right frustrated words to say, I love you, we curse each other or punch blood into thin walls. This is Rockwell Gardens, the projects. My daughters are called white girls. They mutter bitch beneath breath when I make them read the bluest eye in a building of walls so thin they can hear our neighbor Jimmy ball up his newspaper to swat his bitch like a fly. When we can't find the right frustrated words to say, you've hurt me. We crack jokes into floors so thin even the downstairs toddlers can hear the humbug of our laughter. The city's project is to tear Rockwell Gardens down, to scatter us like mice, to build condominiums over our bones. But we grew in that garden, felt the bite of winter and wilted from summer heat, yet even the leaves crinkled and blew away like we would, only returning in the fall to briskly walk repaved sidewalks, and it could never be a full house. Jimmy swatting his bitch is louder than the memory of ice cream trucks. And if I could scrape together enough pennies to buy my daughters a popsicle, I swear I would save that change anyway to move us out. Thank you.